back to the Green Light.
Green Light Podcast. You got Jackson here.
And you got Lauren.
And what do we do, Lauren, on this here podcast?
Well, we read unproduced plays and screenplays and interview the awesome people who wrote them.
Yes, and what is our script this week, Lauren? Because I know the past couple of weeks you've kind of forgotten to say what we have done.
Yeah, that is a great question, Jackson. Our script this week is Love on Ice.
Mm-hmm. A drama by Tim Woods. Yes. Yeah. So we're going to get into that later. A really fun script. Yeah. We enjoyed working on it. We also have a guest actor coming on this week. So
Tristan
exciting.
Cameron.
Yeah, you'll meet him when we do our second segment. Yes, shout out Tristan. But yeah. How are you doing, Lauren, just as a whole?
I'm doing fine. There's a zit on my face that's been bleeding all day. But aside from that, I'm okay.
That's, you know what, we get those sometimes.
Yeah.
We do as human beings. The 2020 is the zit on our face as like a society.
Just as a year.
Yeah, we'll look back on this year. Well, it's probably worse than a zit on the face, actually. I don't want to downplay.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot worse.
I don't want to downplay people's struggles during this time, but we hope everyone is doing well. We know this is a really tough time, but it's a really exciting time because I think, and this is me hoping that future me will make this decision, to put in a little spooky music at the beginning because it's officially spooky month. It's Halloween.
And you know what else is coming up? My birthday in 2 weeks. 2
Lauren's
weeks from
birthday?
the day we're recording this Wednesday.
Lauren's birthday is October 21st. So, you know how you could give her a gift?
Yeah, you can tell me happy birthday in your iTunes review.
Correct.
Or roast me. I'll take that too.
Or if you want to subscribe to our Patreon, you can also, that would be a great gift for Lauren.
That would be an amazing birthday gift.
Yes.
I would love it so much.
Yes, so both of those things. But yes, also, so that's sort of the pubbing we have. Also, if you haven't heard, we have another podcast, Who Is That? The Masked Singer podcast, where we talk about the new episode of The Masked Singer each week. And that drops on Fridays. So at the same time this episode is out, you go ahead and move over, find Who Is That, and hit the subscribe button, hit the download button, listen to that.
Button.
Smash it with all that you have.
Speaking of smashing a subscribe button, we are also now on YouTube.
Oh, true. God, we have a lot of stuff.
A lot of announcements.
Yeah.
Wow. So for right now, it's basically just all of our past episodes are on there on YouTube. There's no like really video element. We just have a little graphic on the screen.
Yeah, I think it's a cool graphic.
Yeah, I agree. They're both cool graphics.
This graphic design, easy, boy. Easy. That's a joke that I've had. Graphic design is difficult. I know.
No, but I mean, using Canva is easy, so thanks, Canva.
Yeah, thank you, Thank you, free version of Canva that we've used. But yeah, the link is gonna be in our description. Yeah. So if you would
it's also
rather
on our link tree. So
yeah, but
both of our shows are there.
Yeah. So
it's on the same channel, all in one place.
If you would rather listen to our show on YouTube, feel free. We have that link if you want to stare at a nice, pretty graphic. We may put up some other video content if Lauren and I are feeling... we want to
open up that possibility.
Yeah, if Lauren and I are feeling especially creative or especially excited about something. Yeah, we might throw up some videos. But yeah, so check us out on YouTube. But... the original reason why I brought up Halloween before we got sidetracked a couple of times with necessary things is that this whole month we're kind of doing a fun thing with our Detours. If you don't know, our segment Detours of the Week, where we talk about something we've consumed in the past week, movie, TV show, book, play, 10-year-old video game, whatever. We're going to be doing a little, at least one thing Halloween-based. Yeah. As one of our detours for the week. Over there. I did a little shoulder roll because I'm excited. Halloween's a super fun time, you know? Yeah. Especially for engaging and, like, consuming content. It's so fun. Halloween stories are so fun. Old, cheesy horror movies, new, scary horror movies. Yeah. The best episodes of TV... I'm putting my stake in this right now. Stake, like a vampire. Anyways, I'm putting my stake in this right now. The best episodes on TV are the holiday-themed episodes. True. So Halloween episodes are great. Christmas episodes are great. Sometimes the rare Thanksgiving episode. But yes, those are the best episodes on TV. So we're going to at least be bringing you one sort of spooky... detour a week. Spoopy. But yes, so now we're going to get into that. But we're not going to get into... Should we do Halloween, not Halloween, Halloween?
Let's do Halloween, not Halloween, Halloween.
Yeah, so we're going to do a Halloween, I guess a not Halloween sandwich with Halloween bread.
Yes.
So how about you start?
Okay.
and then I'll do my non-Halloween.
Yeah, so a few of us in the house watched Poltergeist. Jackson was unfortunately not in that group, but the original 1982 film Poltergeist. It was directed by Tobe. Okay, it was directed by Tobe Hooper, written and produced by Steven Spielberg, Michael Grace, and Mark Victor from A Screen Story by Steven Spielberg again. Interesting fact about this: Steven Spielberg wanted to direct this, but because he was also doing E.T. at the time, he had like a contract issue where he wasn't allowed to. Okay, where he wasn't allowed to direct another film at the same time he was doing E.T.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
E.T. was a big project.
So instead, he just wrote and produced this one.
He wrote it?
He was one of the writers. Yeah.
Oh, cool! I did not know that actually.
Yeah.
God, fun
well,
facts
the original
from
story, the original story is by Steven Spielberg, and then he was also one of the writers and the producers.
Cool.
Yeah. So it stars Jo Beth Williams, Craig T. Nelson, Heather O'Rourke, and Beatrice Straight.
Craig T. Nelson's in this? Man,
yeah.
Good movie.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen it. Good movie.
So basically Poltergeist. First of all, I just want to say, of course it was done in the 80s, so like the effects aren't amazing, like no CGI or anything, but I still thought it held up pretty well. You know, I still thought it was pretty good. I think my favorite thing about it, and we kind of talked about this with our housemates, was that everyone's actions were very believable. It wasn't one of those horror movies where people were doing dumb stuff, like, you know, oh, don't go in the closet. But it's just like the fact that, you know, the whole premise of Poltergeist basically is that there's a little bit of spoilers in this, but this realtor is living in this neighborhood that he also sells houses in. So, you know, the company gave him a house in the neighborhood. Turns out the land was really cheap for the neighborhood because it was built on top of a cemetery, but they only moved the headstones, not the graves.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. So there is a poltergeist in the house, and there's like a portal to this world where basically spirits live that are like lost. They don't know they're dead, and they're lost on their way to the light, you know, the next life.
Sure.
And the little girl, the youngest child, Carol Ann, in Poltergeist,
Carol Ann
basically hears these things speaking through, like, when there's just static, you know, when there's fuzz on the TV, and eventually a portal opens through the closet in the kid's bedroom. Carol Ann is basically sucked in, like, through the TV, through the closet, whatever, and is, like, she can be heard throughout the house, but she's not quite there. She's on another plane.
Okay.
So basically the whole thing is like the rest of the family calls in these supernatural expert kind of people to try and get them to save their daughter. So they honestly, the family, everything they did was reasonable and smart. You know, if their child was not trapped in this other plane being held captive in the house, I'm sure they would have gotten out of the house, but
probably.
Because, you know, their child was trapped there, it's reasonable that they stayed.
That's an interesting device, I think.
Solve it. They didn't try to solve it themselves. They actually called in people who they thought, you know, at least knew what they were talking about.
Sure.
So
experts, if you will.
Yeah. So I feel like, of course, you know, it was a scary situation, everything. But I feel like the family did everything right as well as they could have. You know what I mean? And I also kind of liked that it wasn't one of those, because I thought at the beginning, because at first, like, the mom and then Carol Ann are the ones who see these things happen. So, like, right towards the beginning, a bunch of chairs stack themselves up onto a table. And then the mom finds that there's a spot on the floor where she can set a chair and it'll move in a line to another place.
Yeah.
And when the dad comes home, she shows him. And I was like, oh, it's not going to do it. Now that the dad's here, he's going to think she's crazy.
Yeah.
But it didn't. It wasn't like one of those poltergeist ghost things that's like, oh, I'm going to make this person look crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty consistent. That said, the third act I didn't really love. I think it could have ended after the second act, after they got Carol Ann out. The third act is basically like they're trying to move, and that's when, like, coffins full of bodies start just popping out of the ground, which I don't feel like really lines up with the established rules of the world. But up until that point, it was great.
No rules in this Poltergeist universe.
Yeah.
No rules. How scary was it? Do you think it's scary? Let's make a scary meter right now. From fun pumpkin to scary pumpkin.
Sure. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. I think that it was probably very scary in the 80s. There were definitely a couple of, like, jump scares that still got me, but I would almost consider it to be more of a thriller in 2020 just because the effects aren't that great.
Sure. I personally am a fan of those practical effects and things like that. So
I like them, but sometimes like, you know, at one point like a giant head comes out of the closet and you're like, okay.
Yeah. In the very brief moment that I saw of this movie, there was one point where someone's clearly human head is switched out with a very clearly fake head. And
it's
then
a kind of famous scene, actually.
Bad things are done to it. That's all I'll say.
That's another thing that, like, doesn't quite line up. Because, like, you know, it's very practical. Like, the poltergeist is just moving things. Like, Carolyn is trapped there.
Sure.
But then all of a sudden, it's causing this one guy to have all kinds of hallucinations. And that doesn't really happen to anyone else.
Yeah, sure.
So that was kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah, well, that's cool. A fun little, like, 80s horror movie.
Yeah.
You know, in that era, if you're down for that, Poltergeist sounds like a good one
recommend.
for you.
It's a good, you know, sit around with everybody in your house and watch.
What service is it on? Netflix?
I think it was on Amazon. I don't know.
I could have sworn y'all watched it on Netflix.
Maybe it was on Netflix. I need to look it up. It'll be in the description for sure. We always put it.
We always will do it. Yeah. I'm looking it up.
All right, but yeah, that's all I really have to say about Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
We also posted a meme of Poltergeist on Monday and said, "Run to the green light, Caroline.
Yes,
Run
we
as
did.
Fast as you can."
Pretty funny, IMO. Yes, it's on Netflix. Okay,
great.
So yeah, that is our first spooky. Now we're gonna get to the non-spooky before we return back to the spooky. So
more of a spoopy, if you will.
Yes. So last week I gave my detour on a Hulu TV series. Now I'm going to give my detour on another TV series that's on Hulu, originally airing on FX, a little TV series called Atlanta. So Atlanta debuted in 2016. 2 seasons are out right now. Both of them are on Hulu, and a third is coming in 2021, actually. I think it's also been renewed for a 4th season, so a lot of Atlanta content potentially coming out. But I finished the full first season. I'm about halfway through the 2nd season. So I'm mostly going to be focusing on the first season, but I'll maybe a little bit of season 2 sprinkled in. So if you don't know what this show is about, I'll give you a little bit of a summary. So it's about 2 cousins trying to better their lives and the lives of their family. So Ern Marks, played by Donald Glover, is a broke college dropout who has no home and is staying with Vanessa, Zazie Beetz, his on and off again girlfriend and mother of his child. After realizing that his cousin, Alfred Marks, played by Brian Tyree Henry, is a rapper on the verge of stardom, Ern becomes his manager. Together with Darius, played by Lakeith Stanfield, Alfred's right-hand man and visionary, the 3 of them try to make it in the Atlanta rap scene. I love this show.
Cool.
I really do enjoy this show.
I've been hearing you laugh out loud.
I have. It's very funny. Yes, I do. I'll just be like sitting at the table, like watching on my laptop. you know, the classic Jackson laugh, as we all know.
Yeah. My mom says it sounds different. Weigh in your iTunes reviews.
Yeah.
My mom says his laugh sounds different than his voice.
Well, yeah. Weigh in on iTunes reviews for sure. Roast me
but
if you must.
only 5-star ones, please.
Yes, please. But yeah, it's hard to say where it ranks for me all time, of course, because I mean, I've only been watching it for a week, but it's so good. It's hard to say it's some of the best TV I've watched in a while because I just confessed Community. We've talked about Fleabag recently, but I'd say quality-wise, it's definitely up there. It also just feels very different from most of the things on TV because it's a comedy, but it's like it doesn't always have the look of a comedy, but it's so funny. If that makes sense. That's a weird way to describe it.
Okay.
And you know, it sometimes has like a slower pace, I feel like, but it's never boring. Like, it is never boring. You're constantly engaged with the characters, with the story. It's great. One thing that I loved about this that I think is sometimes overlooked in some comedies is the cinematography. Okay. I thought the cinematography was really dope. The composition of the shots were always interesting. They're always engaging. And I think that sort of sets it above. And like I said, in comedy, I feel like sometimes we don't always get that.
We just kind of get like a, you know,
pretty basic
kind of deal.
Exactly. And then like, I feel like that originality also extends to the storytelling as well, obviously. There are a couple episodes that I want to highlight. There's one episode that takes place entirely through the lens of this, like, local talk show, and where Paperboy Brian Tyree Henry is being interviewed. And there are, like, even fake commercials that they put throughout it that are so funny and so well done and just, like, so expertly crafted in, like, the writing and the storytelling. And that's great. The other episode, which is the final episode of season 1, actually, it consists of, like, Ern looking for his jacket. That's, like, the whole thing. And you think that's, like, a very basic premise, but it's just, like, we get the entire thing from his perspective. We try to figure out what happened because he doesn't know where he lost it because the last night was kind of crazy. They went out to the club, whatever. He forgets a lot of the stuff. So you kind of figure it out with him. And the ending is so great. I'm going to get to a quote from a Variety article that I really liked that sort of ties in the series and that final episode as well. But just a couple final notes before I get to that. The acting is so strong. Donald Glover is great, obviously. Brian Tyree Henry is also great playing Paperboy. His real struggle comes in like he's a rapper and he's rapping about partially about his life, but also partially hyperbolizing. But then it's sort of exploring like blurring the lines between his real life and his rapping. Well, and to be fair, the beginning of the series starts with him like shooting someone. So like, his real life is part of what he is rapping about, but throughout the series it's still like you get the sense that's not exactly who he is necessarily. Sure. He was just sort of pushed into that. But anyway, so it's really cool is that Lakeith Stanfield, so funny. I feel like I don't know if we see him in many comedic roles now, right?
Yeah, I don't know, because, he's the lead in Sorry to Bother You, right?
He is.
Yeah, which is like,
comedic.
There are some comedic things, but it's also...
I would consider it a comedy, but it's not like... He's straight up funny in this. He's very good, and it's a different role. It's really cool to see these actors sort of at different points in their career from what we know them now.
For sure. Well, I also just feel like, just from what you've told me about the show, and, also just what you've said now, it almost sounds like, and, and also because it is Donald Glover, but it sounds like almost like Community grew up a little bit, and, like, this is its new show, in a way. I don't know, just from what you said about, like, doing different kind of themed episodes. Sure. Where it's a talk show and they have commercials. I think a whole episode about looking for your jacket.
Yeah, and
stuff.
it doesn't feel like Community, but sure. in the same way that Community is very original and takes a lot of risks as a TV show, I would say so does Atlanta. Okay. And some of the comedic elements, while very different from Community, I think, sort of abide by the same rules in a way, if that makes sense. It's just really cool, and it really does paint a picture of like the city of Atlanta through a realistic lens and sometimes like a slightly surreal, like very close to reality but slightly off. Like, for example, Justin Bieber is a character that comes in a couple episodes, and he's pretty much
played by Justin Bieber.
Well, here's the thing.
Oh, it's not.
So he's pretty much the same character as like a hyperbolized Justin Bieber would be, except he's black, and he's actually played by the kid in Daybreak. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Well, all I think of with Daybreak is the lead kid.
The lead kid, yeah. Well, one of the main characters in Daybreak is also in this show, which I thought was really cool to see him. But yes, so. It's just really cool how it's like so close to reality, but it's like that's a little bit different, and it's like it's really funny. Okay. So I want to end with this really cool quote from Variety. So I should have quoted the author, but we will put it in the description to hat tip for them. Ooh, so
Jackson bumped the table.
I did. I'm sorry. So
we need to make that like a party foul thing. Like, we have to do something whenever one of us does that. We have to like
run around the house and have the other person just talk for a minute. Okay. At the risk of saying anything overarching about the Black experience, or to reduce Atlanta's brilliance to merely a question of race, there is something significant to making fairy tales out of the lives of a set of people who would never have been cast in The Lord of the Rings. It's all a different kind of danger and a different sort of magic, yes, but Ern, like Frodo, just wants to go home. By the end of this season, as makeshift as it is, he finally finds where he can put his head down to sleep. And I don't want to say where he finds that because that's a bit of a spoiler, especially for the final episode, but I just really like that quote. So Atlanta, it's on Hulu. First 2 seasons out on Hulu right now. You can watch them. I would definitely suggest it.
Yeah, this one is definitely on my list.
Yes.
So let's go back to our spooky
final
movie.
Spooky. And we are almost at 20 minutes. So just to FYI for both of us.
Power through.
Yes.
So the other movie we watched was the 2003 Haunted Mansion movie, based on the Disney theme park ride.
When was the ride created?
I don't know. You look that up because I have the movie page up right now.
You talk about the specs.
So, here's the little summary. Workaholic real estate agent Jim Evers, Eddie Murphy, is accused by his wife Sarah, Marcia Thomason, of neglecting his son, Mark John Jeffries, and daughter, Ari Davis. So he takes the family on a vacation. They're going to the lake. Along the way, the family stops off at a sinister mansion that Jim has been asked to sell, only to discover it's haunted by Master Gracie, Nathaniel Parker, his stern butler, Ramsley, Terrence Stamp, and 2 other servants who need some help breaking a curse.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Quick pause. Guess when Haunted Mansion opened.
1979.
You're 10 years off. 1969. Was
69.
it August 9th, 1969? The first, it opened at Disneyland. Then 2 years later, it opened in Magic Kingdom as well.
That wasn't that far off.
Yeah, so pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. But yes, so what did you like about this movie, Lauren?
Number 1, Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy's great. Eddie Murphy, he chews up the scenery in all the scenes that he is.
No, and it's just like, especially you see him in his like real estate action at the beginning, and from that point on, from seeing those interactions, you totally understand why he's really trying to sell this house. He ignores so much haunted stuff.
Eddie Murphy.
And just keeps a smile on his face and is like, I'm going to sell this house. It'll be over soon.
Eddie Murphy.
It's all fine.
Is how you say married to the game.
Yes.
He's very much dedicated to his job.
Yeah.
And that gets in the way,
like,
and we see that.
Okay, great. There's a cemetery in the back. Cool. We'll say scenic views. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Cobwebs. All right. Antiques. Great. We love it.
Yeah, his character is great. The world building, I enjoyed the world building. It's a lot of fun.
I thought it was fun. The backstory, I guess, of the whole thing was interesting. It had a lot of Phantom of the Opera elements.
It did.
Like the whole masquerade thing. Every time there was a flashback, there was even a whole part where they went and it was like, they went into like a little crypt type area to get some key, and it literally looked like the Phantom's lair in Phantom of the Opera. Like it was, they had to go in a little boat thing or whatever, and it was just all like water and kind of foggy and whatever. Like it literally looked like the Phantom of the Opera thing.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
So same energy.
There are some fun creatures in this.
Yeah.
There's like some zombies, some ghosts.
The quartet bus. I love the quartet bus.
Those fellas were just delightful.
Yeah.
They were very fun.
Well, and the
harmonies were
like,
tight.
Yeah. They strapped him to the car at the end, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because like spoiler, sorry. They are left the house at the end because once the curse is broken, all of the ghosts are no longer in the house.
Yeah. They are ultimately freed to go do their thing. So yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. It's not necessarily a theatrical feat, but it's enjoyable. You're gonna have a good time watching. It's on Disney Plus, by the way, in case.
Well, and just like they really did fill out the plot and the characters.
Right?
Yeah, they really did fill out the plot and the characters pretty well, considering it was a movie based on a ride.
Yeah.
For
sure. Have you ridden the Haunted Mansion ride, Lauren?
Well, I've never been to Disneyland, so I have not ridden the original, but I have gone on the one at Disney World.
How much of the elements of the movie are in it? Is it very much a bare bones of the actual ride?
Well, so none of the story is really in it.
Okay.
It's more of like a comedic scary kind of thing. Maybe it was more like unironically scary when it was first built, but like the tombstones all have jokes on them while you're waiting in line outside.
Sure.
It's like here lies dear old Fred. He was nice, but now he's dead. Like that kind of deal,
Well, and I feel like the movie does a good job of matching that tone, actually.
For sure,
because there are like some scary elements, but
there's the quartet bus.
Yeah, there's also a lot of comedic moments throughout it, so it's not just super spooky. It's like a PG movie, so don't go in expecting your pants to be scared right off of you.
Well, and also like there is a part in the Haunted Mansion ride. It's been a while because the last time I went to Disney World was like 6th grade.
Sure,
but there is a part where you're on the ride and you're seeing all of these like ghosts that literally they look like little hologram type things or like dancing around in a ballroom. Mm-hmm. So it looks very much like the opening scene flashback of the movie.
Oh, well, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, it is on Disney Plus, I confirmed. Also, fun fact about this movie, there's going to be a new one coming out, a remake.
Yeah.
It was announced actually just like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
That a script is being written currently. So be on the lookout for a new Haunted Mansion movie, which is exciting. I hope they bring back Eddie Murphy in some way.
Yeah, me too.
Just like that original cast. But, all right. I think that's all we got.
So when we come back, we will be reading Love on Ice, a drama by Tim Woods.
Yes, we will.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Green Light.
Green Light.
All right, Jackson and Lauren are here as usual,
as you know it.
We have a special guest actor with us, Tristan Cameron. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Tristan, just tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, etc. Who is Tristan Cameron?
Well, I'm an actor over at Southern Oregon University in the BFA for Performance degree, and I'm in my final term and looking to start getting out in there in the real world soon.
Well, awesome.
That's fantastic.
That's
well, we're in the real world right now, and let me tell you, Tristan, don't rush. Don't you. It is fine out here. It's fine. Yeah. But anyways, we are going to be...
You know what? I'll take fine. I'll take fine.
You know what? Fine is something. It's something. So yeah, we are going to be reading Love on Ice today. And actually, we will have Blake reading stage directions. You will hear him in a second.
Yes.
That's all we'll say. Podcast editing magic. Do-do-do-do-do. Yep. But anyways, so here it is, Love on Ice drama. My name is Jackson, and I will be reading Tom, a husband, Jillian's husband, and a college math professor.
My name is Lauren. I'll be reading Jillian, an artist, deceased, heart attack.
My name is Tristan. I will be reading for Matt, a friend of Tom's.
Love on Ice, a drama. Hospital morgue. 1:50 a.m. White shrouded body on a hospital gurney at center stage. Gurney is at a 45-degree angle. Head at upper stage left, foot at lower stage right. A single chair is at center stage left. Lights up. Pause. Tom, stage right of gurney and back to the audience, slowly pulls back the sheet covering Jillian's face. He stares. Pause. Enter Matt.
Tom, I've been looking all over for you. Do you answer your phone? Can we be here? The fucking morgue?
Don't worry. I slipped the night attendant $200 to leave us alone.
Matt walks tentatively to the gurney, hesitant to look directly at her face.
What the hell happened?
She overheard me talking on the phone to my teaching assistant.
Good Christ, Tom. You still can't keep away from the young stuff.
We argued. I called Jillian frigid. An icy bitch.
Looks slightly stage right.
God, I'm such an ass.
Then what? You didn't kill her. Did you?
Of course not. She ran and...
Gestures a hand downstage.
Locked herself in the bathroom. That's when she had her heart attack.
Rounds the head of the gurney.
Go. Matt, get some rest. I need to be here.
Look, I'm really worried now. You didn't cause her heart attack. You've got to let go of this guilt.
I have to stay.
Ushers Matt out. Turns, looks at the body, returns to the gurney and clutches her left hand. Jillian clenches his hand. Terrified, Tom pulls back his hand and backpedals, stumbling into the chair.
Playing the doting husband now, Tom?
Yeah.
Jillian sits up.
How quaint.
But...
She gestures for him to come closer. He shakes his head.
You could never stand a confrontation.
How can this be? You sound the same. You almost look...
I almost look what? Good for my age? Good for a corpse? Wonderful, Tom. Now that I'm gone, you finally notice me. All it took was me dying.
I'm sorry, Jillian. Really sorry. I know you never...
Slides off the gurney and walks towards him.
Stop it. I don't want to hear it. I had to in life. I'll be goddamned if I'm going to listen to you whine anymore. Grow a pair.
Looks up at her.
It's just that I am sorry. I know I never loved you the way you needed.
Looks away.
I stunk at monogamy.
You never could keep it in your pants.
Walks behind Tom as he watches.
Know why I hate you, Tom? Want to know why I felt this heart attack coming and did nothing to save myself?
You had time to call 911? And didn't?
Better. When I knew it was serious, I downed the rest of your vodka, ran to the bathroom, and swallowed every pill in the medicine cabinet.
She grabs his shoulder. He jumps, moving to gurney.
I'm dead, Tom. For Christ's sake, I can't hurt you anymore.
You mean, you can't haunt me? Torture me in my dreams?
Shakes her head gently and smiles.
Be patient, dear. I've only been dead a few hours.
She crosses to gurney left just behind him and leans towards him.
I haven't gotten my complete job description yet. I'm not sure what's expected of me.
Tom nervously moves to gurney foot.
This can't be happening. I'm stressed, in shock, some altered state.
She slaps the top of the gurney.
Quite right, Tom. The altered state you feel is that relief that I'm dead. Gone. Muerto. You'll never have to listen to me talk about my dreams, or reassure me that my ass isn't too big.
Turns back towards him.
I'll be as silent as the headstone you've already purchased.
You knew about that? How? I never left any records of what—
You forget, dear. The one gravestone company in town is owned by my cousin Jerry. When you ordered my memorial, he called me.
Moving slowly to the foot of the gurney, looking downstage.
He was afraid you might be planning to knock me off.
A quick glance his way.
You wouldn't know this, but that's what real families do. They look out for each other.
Moves up to the right side of the gurney.
I was economizing. I told them both our names would end up being on that gravestone.
Save it, Tom. You think I didn't know it was a single gravestone? You bastard, you always planned on outliving me by 25 years. Marrying one of your nubile grad students.
She moves around the foot of the gurney, raising her voice.
You're such a cliché.
Quickly moving to chair, he sits.
Jillian, why are you doing this? Taunting me.
Faces stage left.
You're frightening me terribly.
Walks from head of gurney to left side and leans.
No, Tom. I can't frighten you in death any more than I did in life.
Reminiscing, facing downstage.
When we were first married, I had this vision of being a professor's wife. Every summer off, being together. But every summer it was all about the Giants. Then, Monday Night Football, the Super Bowl, the NBA playoffs, every goddamned Wimbledon.
Looks at him.
Did you ever stop to think I might want to go to a restaurant with candles and linen napkins? You selfish prick.
Turns her back to him, standing.
And your sacred rule. Never a kind word after the day's first cup of coffee. Caffeine brought out the worst in you.
Turns to face him.
I made you coffee every morning. You never noticed. You didn't love me.
Off. Approaching steps. Crosses toward her.
What do we do? Someone's coming.
Figure it out.
Jillian reclines on gurney. Tom's caught awkwardly in the middle of the room. Walks in quickly. Looks suspiciously at the corpse as if he knows that she's been moved. He slows his pace.
Tom, let me drive you home.
Leave us, Matt. I need to be here. Come back in the morning.
Gazes suspiciously at the corpse.
You're talking to a corpse, Tom. It's not Jillian. She's gone. Come to our house. We have an extra bedroom. Stay for as long as you need.
Trembling.
Leave us? Go home. I need to be here. With her.
Takes a judgmental step back.
This is morbid.
I'm staying. Go home.
Tom walks him to the door. Matt exits. Tom turns to check on Jillian, but she's completely still. He moves cautiously to the gurney, fearing that he might never speak to her again. He leans over the corpse, looking for signs of life. Startlingly, she sits up. Tom leaps back, grabbing his heart.
I could never stand that man.
Because he never bought any of your paintings?
She sits up.
Said whatever I did, landscapes, still lifes, portraits, all resembled abstract cacti. Such a dickhead.
Shaking his head.
Especially after 4 martinis.
Stands.
He's still a putz. I thought dying would lessen my animosity towards that man.
Moves down left.
I did forbid him to drink around you after our last dinner party.
I didn't know that. Wow. I didn't think you had it in you to stand up for me.
Thank you. With a compliment, you were the stingiest woman I ever knew.
Not if you deserved them.
Approaches Tom tentatively. Holds her at an arm's length. Moves to foot of gurney.
Deserved. Everything with you was only if one deserved it. Nothing was ever given freely.
Turns to face her.
No one will say this at your funeral, Jilly, but many will think she didn't have a generous bone in her body.
Backs up a few steps.
Cold, Tom. That's cold.
Sits on gurney.
We deserved each other. 2 unhappy people who found each other, married, and drank too much.
And stayed together too long.
Moves to his side, sits, and touches his shoulder.
The sad dog-eat-dog world of the unhappily married.
Why did we do that? How did that happen?
Looks intently at her.
I don't know. We let our careers, our ambitions get between us. I'm sorry. Really. I know I've blamed you for my own shortcomings.
Looks at her tenderly.
You know, Jilly, we haven't spoken to one another like this for a long while.
At least we had that time before we finished our morning coffee.
Are we so dense it took you dying to remember how to be nice to each other?
I should confess something. 5 years ago, when I finally understood the bulk rule, I actually started to like baseball.
Shivers. lies down on gurney, adjusts her pillow, gently covers her with a blanket, and lies next to her, spooning her.
Is that better?
Yes. Thank you, dear. Don't I frighten you?
Somewhat.
Facing audience.
Remember that Christmas when the furnace went out?
Of course.
The house was freezing and we only had one blanket.
Froze our butts off.
It's freezing in here.
He holds her close. They doze off. Lights dim. Beat. Lights up. Enter Matt.
Tom, are you crazy? What are you doing?
Sits up. Orients himself.
I can leave now. I'm okay.
Kisses his dead wife. Covers her. The two men start to leave.
Jilly said she'll have the coffee hot for me on the other side.
Turns to Jillian. Blows her a kiss. Resumes exiting.
Man, you guys had a weird relationship.
Almost to himself with a slight smile.
Have.
Lights down. End scene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Green Light.
Green light?
We are here with our writer of the week, Tim Woods. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Great. Where are you in the country, Tim?
I'm in Santa Cruz, California. It's about an hour and a half south of San Francisco.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, gotcha. Not,
yeah,
not
we're in
too
LA,
far
so-
from us, I guess, yeah.
Thankfully, same time zone and everything.
Yeah,
so that's good.
exactly. Not having to wake up too early or stay up too late to do an interview, which is nice for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll just jump right into it. So we always ask everybody this, but give us your writer origin story. How did you get started writing?
How did I get started writing? Well, I've been a avid reader, literature guy my whole life. In college, although I wasn't an English major, I sort of should have been. I wrote a few short stories back in the 70s, and I wrote a novella. Then there was a long break while I was like having a family, and one day I woke up and I was 51 years old, and I said, it's kind of now or never.
Sure.
And that began a 7-year process of writing my historical fiction novel, which is set in the Civil War.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, what did you end up majoring in college in, Tim?
I majored in sociology. The reason being I liked sociology, but I picked it because it gave me the most latitude to take other courses.
Sure, absolutely. So let's jump into some questions about the script. So last week, the script that we had on our episode was very light on stage directions, but the script that you sent us is very much more detailed in that category, even down to like specific movements and looks for the actors. So is that something that you do consistently throughout your writing? And if so, talk about your decision and why you do that.
I'm very auditory as a person, and the way things are said by actors is very important to me. I have struggled in my writing to cut down on stage directions, which people in my, I've been in a whole variety of writing groups. Currently, I'm in a playwriting group, and I frequently am being critiqued that maybe I've overdone it. And sometimes I agree, but if it's something I feel strongly about, like the kind of intonation I think that a line should be delivered with, I won't hesitate to put that in.
For sure. Well, I mean, and definitely, if you're someone coming more from a background of, you wrote a novel, you wrote a novella, I mean, I can definitely understand trying to see the whole picture and convey everything that everyone is doing,
Yeah, and it's like not while sometimes I guess writing stage directions can be superfluous sometimes, but also you look at some writers like Tennessee Williams who had a lot of stage directions.
Pages.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think if it all contributes to the overall idea and the story as a whole, I think it makes sense to have them no matter how much is in there, as long as it contributes to the story, which I think it does in here. So
Right.
yeah.
when this play was performed here in Santa Cruz a few years ago, about 3-4 years ago, I think, there was a great visual in how the play opened. It opens up in the morgue, and there's a body on a gurney, and the husband and his best friend come in, and they're kind of paying their respects to the deceased. The friend leaves. There's a few moments of the husband being alone, and the way the director did this wasn't my idea, but I thought it was very powerful. Suddenly you see an arm raise up from the sheet on the gurney, and there's a big gasp in the audience.
That's great. That's
Nice.
great. I love that.
Yeah. So, why did you decide to make Jillian an artist and Tom a college math professor? And do you think their very different occupations led to some of the troubles in their relationship?
Those things just kind of come to me. I don't put a lot of deliberate thought into the professions my characters have. They more appear to me, and than me like assigning like I don't go like I want to write a play about a college professor. I just start the germinating idea of this play was I wanted to write a married couple's last argument. And that's what I attempted to do. And many people were wondering, well, was this whole thing a fantasy on the part of the husband, or you can interpret it any way you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Somebody told me that after they saw the play. It was very successful in its local run here. People really liked it.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, we really enjoyed it as well, and yeah, I think that's interesting because sometimes I feel like professions and things play big roles in it, and whether you intended to have that play a role in it or not, I think it is sort of interesting how these two characters are very different people, and even that is shown in like their professions and what they chose to do with their lives.
For
So I
sure.
think it's sort of a cool addition. So at the beginning of the script, you have Tom, and he feels sort of the need to be alone with Jillian, even though he, of course, fully assumes she's dead and is not going to sort of semi-haunt him, as we kind of see. So what do you think he hopes to achieve by spending this time alone with her? And do you think he gets what he wants by the end of the script, or does he find something he wasn't expecting, or how do you think that plays out?
I think this married couple had one more marital spat they needed to get behind them, and that they accomplished that in the play.
Gotcha. I guess that sort of answers my next question too, because I was gonna say, why does Jillian come back to haunt him, especially when she kind of, in her own way, chooses to die in a way? Do you think it is for closure, revenge? Does she have a choice in coming back? I mean, you kind of answered it, but is there anything more to why Jillian comes back, even though, as the script sort of implies, she kind of, it was partially her own decision to take her life?
Yeah, I don't really have anything different to say than I said a moment ago. It's
Sure.
like this couple had some unfinished business, and they get that unfinished business done, in private in the morgue.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I truly love the ending of this script. I think it's a great arc to go from the relationship at the beginning to them sort of coming together in this final moment together, whether it is over the various spats they've had or just a final realization that, they are allowed to let themselves go. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the character of Matt, because obviously we've talked about our other two characters a good bit, but this script seems like it could work with just Tom and Jillian. So what do you see as Matt's role in the script? How does Matt affect the other two characters?
Very, very minimally. I just thought, I think as I was writing this, that, it's going to be an awkward thing for a guy to been in a long-term marriage to go visit his spouse's body in the morgue, and he just asks his best friend to go with him for support, and he does, and then he says he wants to be alone, and then he shows up briefly at the end. It's really just a support figure, not like he has any significant impact on the story. I mean, you're quite right in that.
Yeah, and I like Matt's character because like you said, it's definitely a support role, but he also does provide some like comedic moments, you know, and it also provides that tension of, you know, he could sort of come back at any time, and, you know, Tom's talking to his dead wife, you know, so it provides that tension there, which I really like, and it also made me think of, you know, sort of like you said, Matt isn't necessarily a vital character to this story, and I think that's sort of a cool thing as an actor. Whereas, you know, obviously you want to play the lead anytime you're an actor. You want to have the big moments, whatever. But I think it's also a good lesson to have to like sort of understand your role in the story, approaching it as an actor. If you play a character like Matt, you're like, what is my role in this story? And I think you should do that no matter who you're playing, you know? What is my role in this story, and how do I achieve that in the best way? So I just thought that was sort of a cool example when we have this character of Matt here, like you were saying.
For sure.
So our final question about the script, what's sort of like the overall message that you hope people get out of the script?
Take care of business while you're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, short and sweet, and I love it. That's great. Yeah.
So let's see. Let's move on to some personal questions. You know, nothing too deep and scary. But,
we always call them personal questions, and it's like that does
personal.
sound scary, doesn't it?
So where do you derive inspiration for your writing?
I'm not dodging your question here.
No, please take your time.
I think I derive by. Did you say where do I get my inspiration?
Yes.
Yes.
I know how cliche this is, but if I don't write, I'm not a happy camper. And there's a great quote from St. Thomas. I don't know if a lot of people know this quote. It goes, if you bring forth what is inside you, what you bring forth will save you. If you fail to bring forth what is inside you, what you fail to bring forth will destroy you.
That's really powerful. And, you know, I feel like a lot of artists just have similar ways.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I mean, if you're an artist, it hurts when you're not doing art.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a famous saying for actors I know is, if you could do anything else, do that. You know, because obviously it's a very tough business, and, you know, to be a writer is tough. To be an artist in general is tough. But I guess there is that part inside all of us as artists that are like, we kind of have to do this, you know, and I think that's a cool and interesting perspective to take on it, for sure. So what drew you to write for the theater? I mean, obviously you said you have experience writing novels in the past, so why have you written theater? Why have you written novels? Sort of what drew you to those different styles of writing, as opposed to something like, I don't know, writing poetry or writing for the screen or something like that?
Well, I've known quite a few poets in my life, and I really believe this. I think poets are born, and the people that I know and respect who are poets they're just poets, and they see the world poetically in terms of images, and they think that way, and I'm really quite blown away by it. My writing, my first love of writing has always been fiction novels. And let's see, I wrote 3 novels over a course of about 9 years, and then I wanted to take a break from it, and I have been a live theater fan my entire life. I love live theater. My wife loves musicals. I love dramatic plays. When the whole thing comes together in theater, you know, actors, script, direction, lighting, everything, it's a very transporting experience for me. I almost always try to sit in the third row in the middle seat. I like to be very close to the action. I like small theaters. I don't really like to be in theaters larger than about 100 seats. I mean, I go to them from time to time, but I really like the intimacy of theater. And when it's pulled off, it's I mean, it's just a great high for me. It really is. My wife is a musical theater aficionado, and we go to New York about once a year, and she goes to a musical every night, except the one night I drag her to one dramatic play, and she drags me one night to a musical play, which I usually like. I mean, it's not like I don't like musicals. I only like, well, we love Sondheim, and I don't like, my wife and I call them corn and cluck kind of musicals. But you know, I'm sure you know Sondheim, and
of course, yeah, of course.
And he's you know, a genius and a master, and I like theater that challenges you and makes you think and question things, and so, you know, I guess I started writing plays because I've been a theater goer and fan my whole life, and I decided to try my hand at it. So I think about 12 years or so ago, I took a introduction to playwriting course, and I liked it, and I think I've written 3 or 4 full-length plays. I've written a zillion 10-minute plays, I don't know, 30, 40 of them, and a couple of one-acts, you know, of varying degrees of quality, of course.
Sure. Absolutely. I also, one thing that I actually didn't comment on when you were talking about sort of your writer origin story is it's very inspiring that you sort of got started writing plays sort of later in your life, and I think that's an absolutely incredible thing, and something that most people would be like, it's too late, whatever, but it's like, it really isn't, and I think you're a great example of that, so I it's very admirable, and I respect you very much for that. But talking about sort of just the theater in general, I think the theater will always sort of be my first love as well.
Yeah.
And there's something, I love how you said you like the middle seat, third row, being so close to the action, and it's like there's like an energy to theater that while, you know, going to see a movie and sitting around people, you know, that's a unique experience in its own, going to a movie theater, and watching a movie like that. But going to like a live theater performance, there's something else, because you have the audience experiencing it at the same time, and you also have the actors experiencing it in front of you at the same time, which I think just that balance of energy and things like that, I don't know, it's almost not even tangible, but it is at the same time. It's weird. That's very, very floofy talk from me, but I really enjoy that as well.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I remember at one point my family went to New York, and, you know, I guess my dad, you know, knew somebody who was in the orchestra of Phantom of the Opera. So then, you know, we saw Phantom of the Opera, and then he also knew somebody who was working on The Lion King. So we saw The Lion King. But then we were just looking for tickets for other shows that were, you know, cheaper day of kind of tickets. And we ended up seeing the Fantastics off Broadway in this, you know, the tiny, tiny theater. It was in like the Snapple Theater.
The Snapple Theater. And
you know, it ended up being the best thing we saw that trip. You know, because it was just such a small space, and, you know, it's like 5 characters or something like that. But yeah, it was. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for intimacy in theater, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's done right, it's a profoundly intimate and collective experience. I mean, I think it's in our genes. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going through our pandemic right now and all that stuff, but I've read a lot about how theater resurrected in Europe after World War II. You know, after all the destruction of that, and people were putting on plays in hallways, in vestibules of apartment buildings.
Wow.
I mean, theater is just in us, and it's always going to be there. I think there's something quite marvelous about that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you hear this, you know, theater's dead or dying or something. It's like, you know, it's evolving with the times, of course, but it's part of being a human being. I want to comment on, you touched on earlier about writing movie scripts. It's a little strange for me to say this because I've been my wife and I are both big movie fans.
Sure.
Have been forever. We love film. But when I've looked seriously at writing screenplays, I actually have a visceral reaction of revulsion. It's like I'm not interested in camera angles.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I know all of that's very important in terms of liking a film, but I can't shift my brain to, close up, extreme close up, pan out, all that stuff. Because you're writing those things, you've got to be dialed into those mechanics, and it's just not part of who I am.
Sure. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people who don't know much about writing or who aren't writers themselves would see like a play script and a movie script, and it's like it can't be that different, right? But they're really are. Different. They're very different styles of writing, and so that definitely makes sense. It is. Yeah, definitely a lot very visual as a film script medium, and not that theater isn't, but theater definitely relies a lot on words and things. So
mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
So we wanted to ask, you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but we wanted to ask two things. If you had to choose one medium that you've written in and only write in that medium for the rest of your life, which one would you choose? And if you had to write in one genre for the rest of your life, which would you choose?
Fiction.
That was quick. That was a quick answer.
Quick.
You
Wow.
had, you had that immediately. Why would you choose fiction?
Novels, plays, or?
Well, I read almost exclusively literary novels. I don't. There's very few genres. I've read all the genres. I've read crime novels, and I've read techno thrillers. I've read horror and read a few Stephen King books and all of that stuff. But
sure.
What I predominantly read is I'd call literary fiction. Mm. My current favorite author is an English woman named Jeanette Winterson. Do you know her?
I do not. I'm not familiar with her, no.
Well, you are in for a wonderful surprise if you ever read fiction.
Oh, fantastic.
Check out Jeanette Winterson. She has a wonderful webpage. Yeah. I think she's the reincarnation of Virginia Woolf.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's very high praise.
Yeah, very high praise.
We'll definitely have to check her out then. No, yeah. And that's
good.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we have one final question for you. This one's kind of a fun question, I think, at least. I came up with it, so of course I'm biased. But, so, imagine this scenario. You are in the audience for the opening night of one of your own plays, and suddenly the stage manager rushes up to you and says, "Tim, our lead actor just went down with the flu. We need you to fill in or the show won't go up." What do you do? Do you take over? Could you take over? Would you just shut the show down? Would you run screaming from the theater hoping to find a replacement on the street? What's sort of your plan of action at that point?
My plan of action at that point was I would look at the stage manager seriously and I would say, "You don't want me on stage. Who can you ask to fill in the lead role? I'm absolutely not an actor. I'm not an on-stage person."
Gotcha. Have you done anything else behind the stage? Have you done any directing or producing or designing or anything like that?
No, just written.
Just written. All right. That's perfect. Well, those are all of our questions, I think. Thank you so much for coming on, Tim. This was a great interview. Do you have anything you would like to plug? Anything that's sort of coming up in your life that you'd like to share?
I'm pretty close to sending out a full-length, my latest full-length play that's called Hail Mary. And I have high hopes for it. It's a racially themed play with a black couple and a white couple, both of whom have lost their young men's sons, like who are in their mid-20s and to gun violence. And it's, so they're parallel tragedies, and the play is really about how these four adults cope with, to quote Hamilton, the unimaginable.
Sure. That sounds fantastic. Yeah. Well, that's very cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. So yeah, everyone be on the lookout for that because hopefully it will be in theaters around the country very soon. So if you were looking to contact him, if you like this play and wanted to produce it, if you just want to pick his brain, we will leave his email in our description. Lauren, do we have anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alrighty, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Green Light.
The Green Light. Thank you to our guest who came on. Thank you to our wonderful friends who came on and helped us record the wonderful script.
Yeah. Now, if you have not done it yet, it would be really helpful if you would go on Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review.
If you roast me, or if you roast Lauren, or if you leave a detour, we'll probably read it on air.
That's right. Another way you can help us is by subscribing to our Patreon. We have lots of exclusive content on there, and you can give as little as $1 a month, and you'll still get a lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of our bonus detours, a lot of our ramble episodes, and $5 for the Greenlit episodes, which are my favorite.
So that link is in the description.
Yes, also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Instagram, Twitter, TGL_pod. Facebook is
@GreenLightPod.
Yes, and if you want to follow us personally, I'm at J_Woodward_C on Instagram and Twitter.
I am at Hunkleberry, HUNKELEBERRY on Instagram and Twitter.
And I think that's it.
That's it. Thanks.
Thank y'all so much for listening. We love you.
Love you.